I'm Robert Bell, and we're here with WTA members, friends, and colleagues at the IBC 2014 show, looking at the vast changes taking place in the media and entertainment industry and how those are going to shape the future for teleport operators worldwide.
So I think you come to these sorts of trade shows, or you take part in panels, etc., and there's always a theme. Or maybe a couple of themes. And it seems that this year, one of the themes is 4K. So at Communicasia, it was a big thing. Here, I think it's probably going to be a pretty big thing. And I was in Paris at the World Satellite Financing Conference, and we had a panel interview. And again, 4K was quite a theme. So it's definitely, it's out there. We're having a lot of different conversations with clients, and I think the trick, and we'll talk about it in a minute, is this going to become mainstream, or is it still in the kind of the hype phase? So it's certainly been talked about a lot. So I think in terms of where we are, there's the Gartner hype curve, and I think UHD 4K has ridden the wave at the top. There was a big splash a few years ago. It's then gone a bit quiet, and it feels to me that we're back on the way up. I think so. To me, it feels a bit more imminent rather than pure hype. So the bits that I look at are, on the one hand, the kind of the law of the consumer. The old adage of faster, better, cheaper, and I think I always kind of think that there's a fourth element, which is around brand perception. So that we've got to look around how the consumer sees this. And then there's the whole ecosystem, so for the broadcasters. So there's, we'll start with this, the kind of the hardware and the supply chain. So how many TV sets are there out there? Are cameras 4K ready, et cetera, et cetera? Are the muxes there, all that sort of stuff. So where are we in that? You then got, there's always a debate about standards, and as a new technology coalesces around a standard, that typically means there's a bit of a breakthrough. But whilst there are multiple standards, it's a way off. So we've got to address where we are on that front. You then got the kind of the advertising side of life. Now, are advertisers in advance, or are they followers? Again, you've got to look at that, and then there's clearly the content providers. Are they jumping onto this or not? And I think for 4K, the topical areas is around sports, rights distribution, and potentially films, but films have been out there for a long time. So what are the content providers doing? You can join all that up and go back to faster, better, cheaper, and is it branded? And I think you start to get a feel for where we are. So I haven't answered where we are yet, but my view at the moment, and this is always dangerous because there are hundreds of different views. So I was on a panel recently, and there were 4 or 5 of us, and one of the guys was saying it's 10 years away, and his view was because in a living room the quality's only a little bit better and it's not discernible. I must admit, my perspective is you could take any technology. I'm sure someone, when it was black and white, was saying the same, or with SD was saying, well, HD's not that much different, etc. It is an advance. So I think in the kind of the faster, better, it is faster, better. So then you get to the kind of the cheaper bit and the brand piece. So it feels to me that so there are lots of trials going on. So World Cup, Commonwealth Games, Arqiva has been involved in the DTT trials, and so the ecosystem is getting there. I think we've got kind of DTT, satellite, and then kind of internet OTT based. Just if I look at the supply chains, the internet contribution OTT side is simpler. So it feels that is breaking first, and Netflix is already, it's already publishing 4K or ultra high definition content. Satellite side is a lot more complex. We're having conversations, but it feels like it's a bit further away, although clearly the sports guys are interested, and then DTT we're getting the trials. Standards, not quite there yet. So from what I understand, there are a bunch of TVs out there. It's about 6 or 7% of new TVs are UHD so-called compatible. Projections to grow, but we've got a bunch of standards behind it. So there's a bit more work to do on that front. Content providers are still a bit cautious other than sports. So you wrap that together, I think internet-based viewing is going to go first. That'll be very dependent on country, depending on how strong the core network is. And the slight dilemma there is sport, big events means lots of simultaneous viewership, which means the core network, can it cope with this higher bandwidth? And therefore it's a secondary experience to begin with. And then some countries are pouring billions into the core networks, and they'll progress farther than others. And then I think on the satellite side, we're a few years away yet. So the Moore's law or the equivalent, and I see no reason why things are going to change. So yep, it'll be more bandwidth hungry, but we've already got the next wave of compression technologies coming out that I think will halve the bandwidth on a like-for-like basis. So it feels to me that across the industry, we'll get a bit of UHD, we'll get more HD, SD may kind of slope off a bit and go over to the internet, but the overall bandwidth, you run hard to stand still. I suspect that's where we'll end up.